All right, let's learn a little bit.
Okay.
This is actually a very important part, and the whole Sefer is important, but this is a very integral part to understanding how Hashem operates the world. So he really explains it very well. Let me just try to, I'll just pick it up right here. Kuf Samech, page 542 in the bilingual edition. Amar Seichel, says the intellect, Va'ad kor azrani Hashem levarlach, ma she'at tzricha lo be'inyan hanhagas haschar va'einish. Until now, I've explained to you what we need to know in regards to schar va'onish, reward and punishment. One way Hashem operates the world is reward and punishment. People do good things, they get rewarded. They do bad things, they get punished. But we're going to learn that there's another way that Hashem operates the world. We're going to explain the second way Hashem runs the world. This is the hidden way where Hashem is driving the world to its final conclusion. Here we're going to explain the topic. Everything is dependent on mazel. That the rabbis say. So the major theme of this sefer is that there are two ways that Hashem operates in the world, and they interact with each other. Sometimes Hashem operates the world with reward and punishment. Just simple. You do something good, you get rewarded. You do something bad, you get punished. But there's another way that Hashem operates the world where He suspends, in a way, reward and punishment, which is called Hashem. We call it Hanhagas HaYichud, that Hashem is driving the world to its final conclusion, where evil will ultimately be destroyed. Now, for that to happen, that means He can suspend the reward and punishment. Now He's going to, and with this concept, we can explain a lot of things that happen in the world, which He's going to talk about right now. Kuf Samach Aleph. Amar HaNeshama, says the Neshama, Hiskarti l'chadavar she'eni te'eva l'havanaso harba. You've mentioned something which I desire very much to understand. Kihu minayin yanam hamiskashim alayayse. This is something which is very difficult for me. Al kein misavani ma'od l'das yeshiva. So I want to know, I'm very interested to know how you could explain this to me. Amar HaSeichel, aval kan nimsa inyan. Here we're going to find the topic, tzadik v'tovlo. The righteous, the good things happen to the righteous, tzadik v'ralo, and bad things happen to the righteous. She'eno nitin lehivada, something that we can't know. Amar HaNeshama, v'im kein, if so, lama herusani ala, why are you telling me about it? Ho'el ve'en chiyach lefarshu, if you can't explain it, then what are we talking about? Amar HaSeichel, tchum yesh l'davar ad heichan havi. No, there's a boundary to what we can know. Umehechan nechtal lachkor, but beyond that we can't go. So there's certain things that we can understand, and certain things we can't understand. Specifically about this hanhaga, the way Hashem operates, and tzadik v'ralo. V'im odiacha mashadai lanu lehisyashiv v'davar b'roseinu yosher and yano. And I'll let you know what we can understand about this topic. Umashalo nitin levado lo nivakish, and what we can't understand, we're not going to go into. Avaltira, but see. The aspect that we can't understand, it's not going to mess up your faith, and won't confuse you. The aspects that we can't understand are really just additional ideas that aren't something that we need to know. But something that we need to help us clarify our faith, we have that. Hashem wouldn't make something that would confuse people's faith that doesn't have an answer. He says, that's why it says, you should put it on your heart, that Hashem is God. So he's saying here there are aspects of what we're going to discuss that we can't understand and that we're supposed to learn. That the pasuk says that you should understand about Hashem, but there's aspects of it that we can't understand. And those things we are not going to go into, we can't go into. But he says that of the things that we can't understand, those aren't things that are going to ruin a person's faith. Now, what could ruin a person's faith that there are answers to? So that's tzadik v'ralo. Why bad things happen to good people? A person could, that's a very good question. It appears that, chas v'shalom, that there's no being that is watching over the world, because here's a good person doing what he's supposed to do, and bad things are happening. So a person could be confused about faith in God with such a question. So to that the Ramchal says, don't worry, there's an answer to that, and that's what we're going to explain. Beyond that, now what's beyond that? So he suggests here in the footnotes that the thing that we can understand in general terms why bad things happen to good people, but what we will not be able to understand is why bad things happen to that specific person and not that specific person. Meaning, you could have two tzaddikim that observe the Torah just the same, and they're equally as righteous, whereas one tzaddik has a very difficult life, and one tzaddik has a very peaceful life. He says that we're not going to be able to understand why one thing happens to one person and not to another person. And that, he says, that's not something that's going to. That's what he suggests on the bottom, and that's not going to disturb a person's faith in Hashem. What could disturb a person's faith in Hashem is why bad things happen to good people. So he says that's what we're going to explain. Amar neshama im kain, if so, emor masha teda hayos lid tzarech bo. Tell me what I need to know. So, and again, we're obviously not going to finish the whole thing here, but I just want to get to the original, the main concept, so we don't leave us hanging something that could mess up our faith. Amar Seichel, says the intellect. Hine keven shesham hadon baruchu lahanhagas haschar ba'onesh ma'ati yagil lechol adam k'fi masav. The first way that Hashem directs the world, we said, is reward and punishment. So, according to that way, a person should get just according to his deeds. Tov l'tovim, good for those that act well, for al arayim, and evil for those that act bad. Amnam ha'etzah ha'muka shal adam baruchu lagalgal advar ba'ofen shlo tiyah hanhaga elo tov. But there's another aspect of Hashem running the world, and that is that Hashem makes the world go in a way that everything will only be good. Hashem is pushing human history to a point where everything will only be good. And evil, there will be no evil left in the world. That's the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal of creation is that evil will disappear. And this is called a refinement of a hanhaga of refinement. In order to make this final rectification, to make this happen, Hashem makes good and evil. If you have a sick person, the way you make him well is to go after the cause of his sickness. And then you remove the cause of the sickness. So too this. In order that Hashem, there should only be good in the world, and that there shouldn't be evil, we have to find the reason and the source of evil in the world. And we have to make it so that eventually we find the cause of the evil, and that there won't be evil anymore. Hashem doesn't want to just destroy the world and recreate it, like a person who regrets what he did. Right? Hashem could have done something where he makes a world with good and evil, and then he wants to destroy evil, so he just destroys the world and makes a new one. Hashem didn't want to do that. But rather what he did is he created this world with evil, and he put the world on a path that evil should ultimately be destroyed, so that in this world itself we're going to have a world of only good. We already explained that the reason there's evil in the world is to show a revelation of Hashem's oneness. So this is something that we explained. So to recap, this was many chapters earlier in the book, but he says, evil, what is evil? Evil gives the impression that there is a power other than Hashem. Right? The fact that now Hamas can do all the evil that they're doing and that the world defends them, it makes it look like there's a power besides Hashem. So in order to negate that, what Hashem is going to do in the end of days is to totally destroy evil. When Hashem destroys evil, it shows that really He is the only source of power in the world. Now, that the stronger evil is, that means it's more of a revelation when Hashem destroys that evil, that He is the only power. Right? If you have a little bit of evil and Hashem destroys it, fine. But if you have a great amount of evil in the world, and then Hashem comes and destroys it, that shows, wow, Hashem really is the only true power. Hashem is one. As we just said. So Hashem allows, for this reason, Hashem hides Himself, and when Hashem hides Himself, that allows evil to be as powerful as it can be, until the point that the evil could literally destroy the world. But Hashem actually doesn't let the world get destroyed. Evil comes to such a point where if it would have gone a little bit more, Hashem would destroy the world. So when evil gets to the ultimate level and Hashem destroys it, it shows that's more of a revelation of Hashem's oneness. But when He rectifies all of the deficiencies with the strength of His power, and the light becomes recognized through the darkness. We explained earlier. Since Hashem wants to make the world good, so Hashem first, in order that Hashem demonstrates His power and His oneness, He had to make a world with good and evil. Now, the Amnam, let's do one more paragraph because I think that'll really show the main idea, and then we can continue next week. Now, if Hashem, let's say Hashem would just operate the world with reward and punishment, and that's it. That's all He wanted to do. He says we wouldn't have this outpouring, this growth of evil. Why? Because the Ozvi Hashem Yichlu. Right? If you just have reward and punishment, that means the evil people right away, they'd be destroyed. They did evil. And the good people, they'd be rewarded. Everything's great. So you wouldn't have evil growing. Why? Because every time beings did evil, they get struck by lightning or something. Evil strengthens because Hashem hides Himself from the world. It says, "Az yikruuni v'lo ena." You'll call out to me and I won't answer. But the truth has disappeared, and he who avoids wrongdoing is considered a fool. Right? The people that do good will be considered. People will look at them like they're fools. Right? You support Israel. You don't support terrorists. You're a fool. This is called total hiddenness. It's a hiddenness in order to reveal Hashem's oneness at the final rectification of the world. Like the verse says, "V'tosha lo zaro v'tzikaso he smachasu." He saved them through the power of His right hand and supported them through pure generosity. And when Hashem is operating in this way, He's not paying attention to reward and punishment. Hashem is allowing evil to grow so that in the end He can destroy it. And what happens about this? That means when evil is growing, even the righteous people suffer. They're poor and they're suffering. Not because they deserve it, because that's what's needed for the moment. Right? People say, the Holocaust. How can you say my grandparents they were so righteous? How could they? How can you say it's a punishment or whatever in the world? They were righteous, but the Ramchal is saying here, even right when Hashem allows this, when Hashem's operating with this Hanhaga, where He's allowing evil to grow, even the righteous suffer. Even the righteous suffer at that. It doesn't matter.
It's like the epitome of evil. It's just
right. The righteous suffer when Hashem allows it. Doesn't mean they deserve it. Doesn't mean they had evil deeds. Now, obviously, these people are going to be rewarded in the next world, and whatever happens, the Hashem has the cheshbon. He doesn't just say, you're not going to get rewarded because I'm operating with this Hanhaga. They work in tandem. But in this world, at this point, even a righteous person could suffer, and it doesn't matter how many good deeds he did. Right? Rav Chana Wasserman, Tzaddik, Talmud Chacham, the Gadol. The Gadol Ador was murdered by the Nazis, the Lithuanians. Right? It happened. He says right here. But after they were going to receive their full reward, because when Hashem reveals His goodness, and the goodness rules over, according to the evil that they got at the beginning. So all those tzaddikim and the righteous people that experienced evil and suffered because of that, because of this hanhaga that had to happen to allow evil to grow in the world, all those people are going to be rewarded to the level of the evil that they suffered. Like it says, Samchenu, Kimis Inisanu, that we will rejoice like the days that you inflicted us. But during those times where evil is allowed to grow, all the merits that they have can't save them. Okay, and like it says, that the wise person at this moment should be quiet because it's a time of evil. Not only it's not only that they're righteous, that their merits of the righteous won't help them. But he says, on the contrary, only evil people will be successful, because this is the time where Hashem is allowing evil to succeed. It's like a joke to them. The righteous, they're oppressed. Like it says, and the heels of the Messiah, it says that chutzpah will be in the world. From Tisrach, the scholars, the wisdom of scholars will be scorned. And the verse itself says, that truth will be hidden, and that someone who avoids wrongdoing is considered a fool. So he started out by saying, right, some very difficult things. How could it be? Right, people might be bothered. Their faith might be bothered. How could bad things happen to good people? So he's saying that there are two hanhagas, there are two ways that Hashem deals with the world. One is reward and punishment. But there's a second hanhaga where Hashem allows evil to grow, because the more evil that exists in the world, there'll be more of a kiddush Hashem when Hashem destroys that evil and shows that the evil really had no power, it was just an illusion. The only power is Hashem. So that's how, when we have this knowledge, right? I wouldn't tell someone this who's going through a tragedy at an emotional point, but intellectually we know that we can look back at the world's tragedies and we can see, eventually when Mashiach comes, we'll understand why in world history the Holocaust had to happen, why October 7th had to happen, why 9/11 had to happen, why all these righteous people had to suffer, because it was all part of Hashem allowing evil to grow, so that in the end He can destroy the evil. In the end it will show that Hashem is the only true power.